How's it going, everybody? I'd like to welcome everybody back. And in this video, we're going to be focusing on a thing that I struggled with for quite a while when it came to working with the ASAv. And one of the things that I had a difficult time getting to work, and I just figured out how to make it work just recently, was in the ASAv, if you work with it inside of the VMware console. So you have vSphere deployed and you run ASAv as a virtual machine, and you have the console connected to it. You can work inside of this, and this is fine for, like, just making sure it can spin up on some basic stuff. But if you're going to be working with it consistently, you might have the desire to flip over to something like Secure CRT or Super Putty, where you can do more than just connecting to the console window. And you can't copy and paste out of it, which can be a pain, especially when you're trying to, make a bunch of changes or what have you. So I was like, well, I don't like this. How can I fix this? Now, as you can see, what I'm trying to get to work is working in Secure CRT. So I'm going to walk you through the few steps that you need to walk through in order to get this to work. Now, it was a little bit of a stumbling block the first time I did it, but you know what? Eventually, I was able to get it to work. So what we need to do first and foremost is connect in. And for any of you that have never dealt with ASA, whenever you see the password typed in there, you don't have to worry about that. So basically what we're going to do, you just have to hit the enter key a couple times and you'll be able to get to privilege mode. So what we'll do is you have to create a file on the disk. So if you type in dir, you'll see that there is disk 0. And what you'll have to do is you'll have to redirect the console to what they call the core dump file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, the way that I was able to get this to work without having to pull up the ASDM and create any files was to do a copy run to disk 0 / and then I created a file called use_tty s0. And then I do that, and then it copied the file. So now if I type in dir, now there's a file in the flash called use_tty or teletype, which is what we're going to be using. Now, I've already got a serial connection already configured for this, so go ahead and pull this up real quick. We click on ASA2 and I go to Edit Settings. I look right here, and underneath the serial port, I have it set up to where it'll point to this particular ESXi host on port 2202. So we have that going. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this back up. And what I'm going to do is you have to go to global config and type in a cd core dump info, and then type in the command is going to be copy core dump dot cfg to disk 0 / use_tty serial 0 and hit the enter key. Then you go through this process and it's going to say, are you sure you want to do that? And the answer to the question is yes. So as long as you've done all of that, what we should have to, the only thing we should have to do now is reload. So we're going to go ahead and save our config just to make sure that we did that. And we're going to go ahead and reload. Now what I should be able to do now, I'm going to keep this up over here, and I'm going to bring this down just a little bit so you guys can see this. We go over here, and I'm going to go ahead and say, we're going to say copy, and we're going to say paste. I'm going to right click in here and say properties, and I'm going to say ASAv2, and telnet connection is going to go to 2202. So we're launching an ASA on 9.8 code. I'm going to say OK, and then I'm going to type this in. Now it automatically goes out there. So if you notice on the Secure CRT session, it shows ASAv2, and you notice how automatically it starts pointing towards the ASA towards this port here, or to the Secure CRT output. You'll see a little bit of detail up here in the console window, but we should see after right about after this point, it might be a few lines of output will come out, and then now it'll start to point towards it says Lena to use serial port dev or device TTY S0 for console 10. or console IO, input output. And here we are, we're on the ASA, and now I'm in secure CRT. So now I can go in and do this consistently now if I need to go ahead and do anything. It'll be a console connection. So one of the drawbacks, and I don't really consider it a drawback, I know some other folks that have used ASAv for learning purposes, they didn't like this output here where they're like, oh my god, you have to get a license. No, you don't. You can license the ASA. You totally can. Because when you deploy it, it asks you what the throughput is that you want to map to your ASA, 100 megabits per second, gigabit, 10 gigabit, so on and so forth. So we're going to be doing the bare minimum, and in this particular case, the bare minimum is going to be 100 megabits per second. I actually don't know if it's true 100 meg. I haven't tested that piece out, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't really care. But at this point, I have it up and running for ASAv2, and now we have the platform license pops up, and we're good to go. Now, one of the things that this will allow us to do as we're going through here is this gives us full support. So I've tested a lot of features out on this, and I plan on doing a fair amount of videos on different things you can do on ASA and stuff like that. And this is just one of them, trying to get it up and running and stuff like that. So one thing that I realized, and the reason why I'm on ESXi, is when I was playing around with Eve to get it to work, I noticed that there was a problem with, because I do have Eve working. I'd have to pull up a web page. But one of the things that I ran into was I tried to deploy all the different flavors of ASA that I had access to, and I couldn't get anything to work in the data plane. I couldn't get a Windows PC that I had loaded in Eve to be able to get, it would pull DHCP, so I knew that the PC and ASA were talking to each other, but I couldn't get I couldn't pull DNS, I couldn't ping through the firewall. And I've done it before. I mean, I've demoed a lot on the ASA, so I was like, I know it works, and on this version of code. So I was like, okay, so for ASA preparation, I have to jump back to ESXi. I haven't tried it in GNS3. Maybe it'll work there. But I had a problem with Eve for ASA and ASAv. So at this point, that's where I'm going to just do all of my ASA prep in ESXi, and then when I'm doing anything that requires me to do anything with ASA, like Flex VPN down the road or site-to-site VPN, I'll bring all that stuff out. But anything that's required, like iOS routers and stuff like that, I'll do all that prep inside of Eve and stuff like that. So Eve is pretty powerful in that regard. So, but that's pretty much what I wanted to cover here. Short and sweet, to the point. Thanks so much for stopping by, everybody. And if you haven't already done so, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified when I release more videos. I'll try to do a better job of coming out with content in the very near future. I'm actually probably going to be doing some other videos outside of just what I've got going on here. But we'll see how that plays out, because I've been dealing with some voice recently. I've also been doing some stuff on the wireless side. So you never know. We could have all kinds of stuff coming out. But until next time, guys, thanks for stopping by, and catch you guys later.